let me say a special welcome to one and all. Good morning to our listeners, those of you who are listening. Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Good Monday morning to you. Monday the 13th. Those of you viewing GBN TV, hope all is well with you also. Whatever of the channels that you're viewing, certainly hope you're doing A-OK. Our social media audience, those of you via the Facebook page, YouTube channels, hope you're having a great day so far. Let's say good morning to Mr. Sylvan Intyre. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome back again once again. Welcome.
Yes, GT, good morning to you. Good morning to the entire staff and management of the GBN, and good morning to our very ardent and consistent listeners and followers.
All right.
Pleasant good morning to everyone.
We are sort of been missing in action for the last 2 Mondays.
Yes.
I understand. Sometimes things happen that we just have to, do what we have to do, as we would say in regular speaking. We have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, and life is about balance and differences.
And so there's a little give and take sometimes, right?
Yes, man. Changes are always the process in life that we cannot get rid of.
All right. The last 2 weeks, lots have happened. From adverse weather conditions, Can I say adverse in that under the circumstances?
In adverse?
Yeah,
of course. It's very appropriate.
Right. Conditions. We had accidents occurring.
Yes.
Stuff like that. So tell us, you've probably been keeping up with it more than I have.
Yeah. And we peeled off from the October 25th situation, spilling right into the launch of
the Independence. 50th Independence Anniversary.
We really want to commend those initiatives.
All right.
It's really wonderful, the display and everything that I'm feeling and seeing about the pride, the Grenadianism, if that's a word.
Yes, I like to use that word, the Grenadianism.
You like to use that word? Yes, and the patriotism that expressed, that is good. But before I go into the review, I just want to say a hearty thank you again to a lot of our followers who've been missing the program. They said for the last 2 weeks they didn't hear me. Yes. And I was wondering what was going on, but I'm fine. I'm in good shape. I had some things that we had to take care of. That's in place.
All right.
And for those of you who've met me, I met, I think, a lady. I met her through one of the airports a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And again, she was really up in praising our program for what we've been doing. Right. And again, we meet people every day, and I want to say hats off to all those of you who've been making your contribution and so on. So very, very wonderful day to everybody. And before I slip in, I just want to say that today I am observing the birthday of my first grandson.
All right.
Amari.
All right.
I want to say happy birthday to you, and his mom was taking care of him very well in the absence of his father who died. And also I'm observing my second grandson who was born just 3 days ago.
Oh.
So big celebration.
Yeah, so you're in a bit of a celebratory mood.
Yeah. So my first two grandsons born in November, and my first two sons were born in January. And so that's good. So happy birthday to you, Amari, and the rest of you. All the best. So looking back into some of the things that we saw, and as we speak, there isn't a moment that I do not want to refer to the road safety issues, because as you know, we have the Ash McIntyre Foundation for Road Safety. That's coming up. We have some things, as I said, I'm keeping on my chest because we're doing all the internal paperwork, and there will be a big public launch and some things that will be happening and so forth.
It has been a couple of weeks that we haven't talked much about the foundation,
Yes.
So we will get into a conversation about that.
Yes, later on. Definitely.
Maybe into the new year or so, maybe later on we get into a conversation about the foundation.
As his birthday, the 13th of January nears, I think we would be looking forward to that, the 13th of January. And
Great. I'll certainly will take a note of that.
Yes.
Take a note of that.
And let me just, we start that look at the safety issue in terms of the accidents and so that happened. Yeah. Within the last couple of weeks as well, we've observed that there are some issues that are contributing still to road safety and road accidents.
Yep.
There was one or two over the Grande Tang, over the Hit Me Easy. You know where is Hit Me Easy?
Hit Me Easy. That little corner.
Yeah, man. Okay, well, you know.
I transverse the area on a regular.
Yes.
So even yesterday, so I actually know what it's like.
When you look at some of the guardrails that are being set up, there are still some deficiencies in that corner there where a truck went, and I think the Grace truck one time went over a good truck with some people in it. Fortunately, I was driving through and I met those guys and I had to render some therapy and assistance to them. But when you looked at what contributed to the accident, there is a a wall that is not way up, so it's not always very conspicuous, and it's sometimes covered in grass and mold, the moss and so forth on it, so drivers may not always see it, and it's not high enough. So speaking to the driver, his wheel chipped it off a bit and it toppled the vehicle down there. So when you look at it, I remember years ago I had an uncle-in-law who went over there with one of those what we call the garbage truck as well, and some people got injured in that area. So I want Ministry of Works, again, those who are responsible, to review that area in particular. We will look at, we will raise the issue as we said, but that needs some guardrails as it stands now. We don't want something fatal to happen.
And I think it's about time some expansion work done on the area, if it's possible. Also.
Yes.
Especially those tight corners. I think by time, it's been years.
Yes.
And I think, there are engineers now who could come up with the appropriate idea, of course, of fixing those kind of problems.
Absolutely. And then the issue of somebody called a couple of weeks ago on our program, they asked about the box drains and the slipper drains. We would again make an appeal for the safety of road users that the box drain, you should consider covering them with grills.
Yes.
And there are a lot of areas where grills could be put on top of these. It gives more width to the road, and it adds a level of safety for pedestrians.
Right.
So we think in a lot of places they have cheated on the motoring and the pedestrian public because they've just used a box drain.
Yeah.
And if there's a vehicle need to veer off on narrow roads, it means that you are creating some risk to other people. So they could look at it, reconsider that, and the box drain in some places, they are unavoidable.
Yeah.
But when you do them, you should cover them with grills so it gives some more space.
Safety. I mean, and knowing the amount of vehicles now that transverse Grenada's roads, it's time that sort of an upgrade is suddenly needed. It's needed badly.
And again, we would want to make an appeal for the Upper Lucas Street, closer opposite the Red Cross, between there and the old government house. That span of road that, takes a lot of traffic. The volume is great on a daily basis. And you have a huge portion of that road there with a deep box drain, and we think that some work should be done there. I would keep plugging
but there have been numerous individuals who has gone down into that drain. We may not have heard of any lately. Sometimes the amount that occurred, sometimes we just don't hear about it. We just don't hear about it. But I mean, for the years that has gone by, I think something should be looked into.
Yes.
It's something that definitely should be looked into.
So when you look at that, I saw, again, coming down the eastern coast line, that was maybe after 11, there was a guy that the vehicle just went off in one of those drains, box drains, stuck there, and he was there on his side and so forth. What I'm saying, these things, everybody's ability on the road may not be the best. Sometimes people may have different conditions that may cause them to veer off. But if you convert the slipper more and you cover those boxes, we can ensure that you have better safety on our roads.
But isn't there someone who should be looking into these things from a governmental point of view, who should be looking into those incidents? And not the incident, but the slipper drains and stuff like that, and bringing back reports, and so these are the things that should be looked into.
So the operative thing here that you just said, the word is suppose.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who suppose to do things. There are a lot of things that are supposed to be done and they're not done. But people like ourselves and media houses like your own, the GBN, that will raise the issues ever so often. When you keep raising them in public domain,
probably going to get something.
You'll get some traction on them.
Trying to just slip it's under the same narrative that we speak. I was looking at driving through the country area on Saturday with all the rain.
Yeah.
And I was saying to myself, we saw the Balthazar River area there. We saw that the blockage occur. And I was saying, if there are individuals within the Ministry of Works who should be looking into these things, maybe some free work could have been done, knowing that we had an extensive dry season, dry period, dry spell around, and we're going to have a lot of dry debris that was just going to be packed up.
Yeah.
And maybe someone could have looked into it and say, hey, let's have these rivers looked at, cleared up, because we know time to come we're going to have an extensive rain period approaching again.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm coming from.
Yes, I understand you clearly.
And maybe have some clearing done. So just in case the rain starts and the rivers wants to overflow, the debris will be minimal.
Yes.
You understand?
But you're absolutely on point with that.
I think sometimes the individual just don't look into these things until it occurs, and then you have to get a tractor to come and clear it. But if these things was done before, it could save a lot of time. Because everybody had to do these detours. All I had to do a detour on Saturday and so forth. which takes up more time.
Yeah, absolutely. So you raised two issues there. I think that these are things that we spoke about before, but we need to keep repeating them. It has two implications on it, and again, what people are supposed to do. One, the Ministry of Health and Solid Waste, they do have a part to play in that, and Ministry of Agriculture, in terms of how you advise farmers and how you supervise the process that they do close to our stream beds and close to our catchment areas, what kind of agricultural practices that are being done, and how people, what kind of things that they do that may contribute to the rivers getting blocked up, with things getting into the waterway and blocking those areas. So that's one factor. So the agricultural issue, how people cut the land use, that has some implication, and the dumping practices that we've seen, illegal dumping in a lot of areas. We need more watch people to enforce that. I've seen signs where Ministry of Health say no dumping. They remove bins and so forth, and they're dumping right next to the sign. So who are the vanguards? Who are the people? Not just who are the people who will look over these things to ensure that they don't happen, or they enforce them? As I said before, we wake up too late and we go to sleep too early on the issues, meaning that there are people that should be looking at the issues with hawk's eye continuously, and we need to move with modern technology in the areas where we do not have the physical manpower. Cameras are available throughout, and it has its positive effect for motorways and so forth. I want to commend the initiative of the traffic lights and the cameras embedded within them, but we need to be able to see people who violate. They are prosecuted and they made public, and that's another aspect of the issue. So we hinge on all of the risk factors here in terms of safety in general, road safety and other forms of safety.
Yes.
You mentioned the inclement weather over the last couple of weeks, and then you said adverse condition, which is very appropriate for what has been happening. The rainfall insistently over certain areas, and what I found is that it seems as though nature is sometimes balancing the flow. As you drive through Grandlands and the sun is really hot, and it's in Andrew, the rain is pouring. And then when it starts pouring Grandlands up there, it ceases a bit.
So everybody
gets in their balance, and sometimes it feels a bit like almost too much, but it's really good because we had the heat that we were complaining about, and now we have the rain. But when the rain comes, you remember we were saying, how do we prepare for when that rain starts falling?
Yes, we did speak about that.
We did absolutely.
And it seemed like a lot of folks were unprepared for it too.
Yeah, because we did say latter October into November technically that rain is likely to go pour.
I did listen to the professionals speak about the condition, and it did say the latter part of October into November the rains were going to start.
Yes, absolutely.
And, so you can say that their predictions were correct to a point.
Yeah. And how were we prepared for that? As you spoke about the rock falls in some areas, I drove around, was it just part of the weekend actually, and we saw quite a bit of rock falls, and in some cases we did see some landslides.
Yes.
What that did was created some level of risk on the roads, because people veering away from those rocks, or those rocks where they cannot avoid them and roll over them, they can contribute to accidents. I remember early on in our program, we mentioned signs of hazard areas. We are yet to see signs erected. I am saying that through our foundation, we are hoping, I am sure, we will contribute to that process.
There are areas that are prone to rockfall,
and it should be written up.
And it always occurs in those particular areas. So I think by now the authorities could say, hey, let me have a sample of this. So folks to know whenever there's a particular rain is falling or whatever condition is out there, you expect you're going to have some landfall, some land slippage there or the stuff.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's uncontrollable.
Yeah.
You understand? It's uncontrollable. So I think the science is important.
And then you would be surprised that a lot of people don't know Grenada very well. And we can be tourists in our own country.
So true.
Drive around and understand what's happening. So when we create the signs, the hazard signs, it's not just for the tourists. And as we speak about tourists, we do have the season just open, and people are moving around. But they too may not be quite aware as to where those hazard-prone areas are, and so forth. So it's really
and it's a time when we should be more concerned when we have visitors
to write them
up.
And one of the other issue that is really commendable, some of the street namings and the signs and so forth. My difficulty with aspect of it is that the size of those signs, they're just too small. and you have to just almost go underneath them to find them.
And sometimes where they're erected to, they're not even visible for you as a driver. It may be good for the passenger with you, who may see them easy because they are not focused on the driving.
That's correct.
And so the passenger may say, look at us saying something, but then you sometimes as a driver, because you're focused on the driving. And these days you have to be focused on your driving.
Yes.
You may not pick up these signs that are written there because of the small print size that they use. You understand?
So, and it is the size of the signs, the colors, they're green and white in most spaces, and they sometimes, I'm not too sure they're all reflective.
Yeah.
I think that they should move to fluorescent type stuff and reflective stuff so that at night the drivers do not have to try to find a sign. They should come out at you. So they should be more conspicuous, and they should increase the font size of the
size of the font.
So, the font, size of the font, so that people become more aware of it, and so that we can be more safe on the road.
And the maintenance of the location is important also. Remember we had a program where we were showing the bushes growing around the signs and all of that. It's still important to do that. Now that we're having a lot of rain, Grenada, for some reason the fertility of plants gets out of hand, especially when the rain falls a lot.
Right.
You understand? And then it's just start growing again. So the maintenance aspect is also very important.
Absolutely. And I'm really happy that you raised this, because it's not that I have a lot of time and I find myself creating those issues, but they jump out at me. And if I like the gentleman said one time, the voice alone shrunk from the wilderness, I'll do it. But I want to see Grenada become more beautiful. And road signs and the flowers and the care for the environment, the grooming of the grass. I see the Kiran James Boulevard, they're cutting it kind of a nice now, but we need a lot more of that. And that area could be enhanced a bit more, still garbage.
And it's doable. It is doable in Grenada.
It's very, very doable. But there's still quite some more things that we should do to ensure that our areas and aspects of it could become safer and more attractive. If you is it Ministry of Tourism who's responsible for those tourism signs for forts and sites, etc.?
I would believe so.
Trust me, if they are the ones responsible, I am sorry, but the signs have become atrocious.
A poor job of maintenance again.
They're very, very, some of them, they peeled off completely. Why do we have to allow it to deteriorate so terribly? It is really bad. It is creating really a negative impression. It is showing up really bad on us that we are not able to direct people who want to know somewhere properly. And for us locals who sometimes move around, it is really good to see that signs are directing us into some place. I drove into St. Patrick as well over the weekend. We were doing some things in that area, and I saw one of those old milestones somewhere in the Montreal area on that hill. Do you know what the milestones were? Those brass stones that were there in the 50s and 60s. That
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure.
With a finger pointing in one direction with the miles, and one point in the other direction saying the miles. Well, there's one that is recreated up in the Montreal area, and it shows the amount of miles into Sotez and the amount of miles into St. George, and that is commendable. They took personal responsibility for doing that. I commend them for that. So you can understand, in those days when there were not many signs, other signs written up, there were the milestones that said to you how far you were, in which direction you needed to go, and so forth. So we need that kind of a process to take place in the modern created road signs, that people can move around, you can find your way around, you can have an understanding. There are those massive signs that were created, I think, by USAID and other people, those green signs on the roundabout. But we must take national pride, personal responsibility to ensure that we make traversing Grenada, commuting Grenada, easier, much more friendly, and much more appealing to the eyes and to the your entire anatomy. You feel a sense of ambience when you walk through Grenada, because it is just so beautiful. The signs are appealing, the flowers are there as well, and it does not take government to do that. We must generate, into 50 years of independence as well, a greater sense of personal pride and appreciation by taking responsibility for our own neighborhoods, our home sides, our streets, and our communities. Plant flowers, generate sign. And I am also making an appeal to corporate Grenada. business people, you can come out and contribute towards generating something that would make Grenada safer, more beautiful, more appealing for all of us to enjoy. And for those who come to visit, that they can find that, you know what, if there is some place called paradise, like Grenada probably is it.
You know, that appeal has been going on for years, you know, Sylvan. You know, I don't think you're the first individual to be making an appeal for, you know, Grenadians and, you know, in general to, you know, show more love to their particular neighborhood and so forth. But somehow we don't find it's getting the love that it should really receive.
I don't know.
And there are areas where they of course, the individuals who live in that particular neighborhood does a lot.
Yeah.
You understand? There are people who help to take care of the surroundings where they live.
Yeah.
You understand? Or not only but their home, but you know, the entire neighborhood. They do things. And there are other areas where you just seem to get that careless.
So I'm probably not the last one, not the first, or one of many who will be raising this issue. We need to revive the community spirit.
Yeah.
The clubs and the groups within communities at one time took responsibility for maroons and road cleanup and so forth. We need to be able to drive that. And the electronics have their place in our children's life, but let's get them involved in doing something. Let's get the groups and the clubs move around. I loved one time when we walked around and cleaned up the beaches and so forth, and just did something.
But you know, we kind of lost that community spirit for some reason or the other. I've been taking notice of that for a while now. You know, that community spirit. So let me take for a break.
We'll take a break, and there's one other thing we would want to mention in community spirit.
Let's talk about it before the break. And then we take that break because we got so much to talk about when we come back.
Yeah, because we need to talk about the risk into the season and all of that. Yes. So good. While community centers and recreational centers and playing fields have been created, they're not well maintained either. I've seen recent initiatives and prior initiatives of recent time to light our playing fields and to have our community centers erected and built, but they're not well maintained. They're not well utilized. I drove around again and I saw, for instance, I think in the Butch Grove area, there's an area called the Palms, a little playing field there. I know I played cricket there as a young man growing up. And I looked at, there is a recreation field and there is a court. The court is moldy. The light's probably not working there as well. And you know what? People are allowed to park the vehicle, derelict and other things on the court where people are supposed to be recreating. Wow. And I'm sure that that's not the only place. And I'm not, I mean, people can throw stones at me when I come from here. I don't mind. But I will call the names of the places where I think we need to take more responsibility as a community and as the people, as the administrations that are responsible, whether through Ministry of Sports, Community Development, and all that. All resources are being spent into ensuring that people have facilities. We create the access, but the maintenance processes must be enhanced. We cannot
it's built and then forgotten.
We cannot allow our national resources
that's the way
to go
of
like
saying
this.
It's been built and forgotten now.
It's really heartbreaking to see some of our recreational facilities, particularly community centers, that are underutilized, not maintained, and in some cases not utilized at all.
Let's take that break. So when we come back with more. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point for today, Monday, the 13th of November. I'll be right back after the break.
For a limited time, the NLA has dropped all of the 2X boards from the Multi-X draw. This means that you, our valuable players, have greater chances of multiplying your winnings up to 5 times more in our 2X drop promotion. Yay! And that's not all. As an additional bonus, there will be fewer free play or FP boards to draw from too. Now you have more reasons to add Multi-X to your playway bets. So, value your dreams, win your way, and multiply your winnings up to 5 times more in the NLA's 2X Dropped promotion. This promotion is extended to Monday, the 20th of November, 2023. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
On this episode of Caribbean Passport TV, we travel to St. Kitts and Nevis, visit a cocoa estate in Trinidad and Tobago, and listen to some steel pan music. And then we'll wind down with some paintings, right here on this station.
want you to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it, and relax it. Eliminate violence.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point for today, Monday, the 13th of November. With me this morning is Mr. Sylvan Intyre. And Sylvan, welcome back once again. Oh, another source of conversation this morning. We're getting into the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And some folks will say the festive season. But there's always a bit of concern that we have to worry about, because there's always that risk that will occur.
Yeah.
That that especially around this time of the year, people will think about the good times, the food, and everything else, and forget there are little incidents that could occur that could just dampen that whole Christmas spirit for you.
Yes,
that could dampen that Christmas spirit. I wanted to talk about, let's talk about the risk that could occur, or some of the risk, or maybe you could give us some of the risks that could occur that maybe people may not be thinking about. That could occur if you do that, especially during the festive season.
Right.
On last week, I had the fire department coming and talk about that also.
Yes.
And they talk about the fires, and so folks could look forward to it just around Christmas and way of especially safety, with that. But there are other risk factors that could occur.
Yeah.
That sometimes, as simple as it is, could be an inconvenience.
Right.
Let's get into that.
So, outside of the RGPF, I am not aware of any groups of individuals who really do critical thinking and analysis of risk in general. Mm-hmm. And it seems as though we tend to make safety and risk factors the main responsibility of the RGPF. But safety and security is a responsibility on every individual.
I agree.
What we have are the custodians of the law, who happens to be the RGPF. They are supposed to enforce and in some cases help us to do it better. But we must be able to take personal responsibility to ensure that our businesses, our homes, our communities, our environment, that it is really safe to operate. And we really want to commend the initiative of the RGPF for raising the safety issues. But we think as well that the safety issues should not just be seasonal. It must be an ongoing thing. Grenada is priding itself on its level of safety in general, but it doesn't take a lot to create an atmosphere of panic. Mm-hmm. And the fear of crime and issues itself is even worse than the issue, the fear of it. And so that can create economic turned down because people are afraid to move around and spend. People are afraid to come in and invest, and people are also scared to visit. So the whole aspect of safety, it is a collective and general responsibility of every individual. And sometimes we take some things for granted. Mm-hmm. Businesses in particular, it's something that you cannot avoid.